Good evening. This is Sonica 10th anniversary edition. It's 7 p.m., which means it's time for a roundtable discussion. Tonight, festival platforms, namely Shape and ICAS. This is the premise, this is the promise, this is the prospect. A roundtable discussion on burning issues of festival platforms and networks. The aim of this roundtable is to present the mission and functionality of Shape Platform, a network of 16 European festivals and art centers aiming to support, promote, and exchange aspiring musicians and interdisciplinary artists with an interest in sound. What has the platform learned in its first 3 years, and what are its challenges for the future? Can Shape Platform really contribute to promotion of underrepresented artists? What are the experiences of Slovenian artists who participated in Shape? And what are the internal dynamics of the platform, relations between bigger and smaller festivals, artistic variety, etc. As Shape Platform was formed by members of ICAS, International Cities of Advanced Sound, a global network of independent non-profit organizations dedicated to advancing sound cultures, music, and related arts, we will also touch upon the network and its current activities. So, with me, Thomas Dumke, CYNETART from Dresden, more on him shortly, Susanna Niedermeyer, musikprotokoll, Graz, and Christian Kroupa, alleged witches, Shape alumni. And this is a little bit about tonight's participants, because, you know, like I said yesterday, the globe is watching, not only globe, history as well. So this is about Thomas. I'll be a little bit... I'll do a little constructivist, fragmented CV. Project management at Transmedia Academy Hellerau. Project manager is Signet Art Festival. Board member of TMA Hellerau. Member of the project team Film and New Media. Of the Dresden City Office for Culture and Historic Preservation. Masters in Modern and Recent History. Yeah, MA in Cultural Administration, but you did dive into modern and recent history, communication science and sociology at TU Dresden, and so forth. Part of the working collective DSX.org, and currently working for the EU Network Project, ICAS, Tomorrow's Art for an Unknown Future, and Utopia Attractor.
This is actually finished already, but the ICAS project. That was our first EU project.
Tomorrow's Art for an Unknown Future.
Yes,
that's done.
That's done. Now it's Shape time.
I see. This is history kicking in now. This is history kicking in now.
But it's good that it was mentioned.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool. I need to update the CV then. And there we go. See, a lot of history. So much history. And a short bio on Susanna Niedermeyer. Studied fine arts and political sciences from 1995 to 2000. She was a member of Wochenklausur, a Vienna-based international group of artists who have made socio-political interventions at the invitation of art. God.
Institutions.
Oh, you wrote the CV yourself. At the invitation of art institutions and cultural organizations since '93. See, this is technology as well. See, paper can be a difficult technology as well. She has been working as an editor, presenter, web designer, and curator for the ORF since '96, amongst others, as a presenter of ORF Ö1 Radio Kunstradio. In 2000, she set up Line In, Line Out. Since 2007, she has co-curated the ORF Festival Musikprotokoll im Steirischen Herbst. Since 2008, she has been one of the 2 editors-in-chief of the radio series ORF Ö1 Zeitton for new and experimental music, for which she has been working as an editor since 2000. Published in various publications, she has also worked as an advisor and curator for Wien Modern, Wiener Festwochen, and Turning Sounds in Warsaw. Christian Kroupa. This is a little bit about him. hailing from the sleepy town of Luka T, Slovenia. It's like one of those Slovenian intros to I Feel Slovenia. Hailing from the sleepy town of Luka T, Slovenia, Christian Kroupa had a music epiphany at a drum and bass party in 2008. In 2013, he surprised the Slovenian music scene with his approach to dark ambient music. Since then, he's proved his skills and innovation as a participant of the Red Bull Music Academy, performing at different stages like Sonar in Barcelona or EMAF in Tokyo. He's currently working on new experimental ambient music, but also keeping an eye on house and techno, making appearances on the legendary RNS Records and Fabric London 90 mix with his alter ego, Alleged Witches. Okay, so Shape's done a 3-year round. Let's just do a quick checkup of the platform, you know, like all the, as it's stated here, to support, promote, and exchange, but also to create a community. How has the platform done, seen from CYNETART, seen from musikprotokoll, and an artist who's been picked up for the roster?
Who shall start?
Susanna.
Okay. How has the platform done? Yes, it was an adventure, of course, the last 3 and now almost 4 years. I think that for some artists, also for some artists that we nominated, I don't know, maybe I should quickly explain how the process is of curation of this platform.
Okay, yeah.
So like we are 16 festivals, and every year like we have an internal process of like suggesting artists where we think it would be great if they would get a bit more around, get more attention. Like every of these 16 festivals, every festival suggests between like 3 to 6 artists, and then we have like an internal voting procedure where then in the end finally 3 artists per festival are nominated. So this makes altogether 48 artists, and this roster is then like the roster for 1 year, as we started Shape in December, so it's like always from beginning of December to beginning of the next December. Over the years, we then, for example, implemented new things like, well, let's say the Shape platform, it is meant, first of all, of course, to promote the artists which are participating over like our media presence. I think this is something which works really well. Like CYNETART, who also was here and had a talk yesterday, and also other colleagues, they are like really putting a lot of emphasis on promoting whenever there is like a new record out or an event. So this is like one thing. Also, we have like this feature, our Artist of the Week. Like every week there is, so to say, our spotlight on one of those 48 artists with like a little interview. And so I think this side of the project is like working really well. Also, our colleagues managed to involve a lot of different media partners. There are like special mixes done. There are like articles placed in, from Tiny Mixtape to Resident Advisor. There is once a year a Wire compilation done with like tracks of some of the artists. I mean, it cannot be all 48 because they don't fit on the compilation, but there is like a booklet made in the end of the year with some of the interviews. So I think there is really a lot of effort put into trying to present our chosen artists, so to say. This part of the project, I think it works really well. Also, like the Facebook page. I mean, the visitors who come to our Facebook pages that's growing. The community is growing. So hopefully, I mean, it's of course always a bit difficult to tell from the inside, but hopefully through this community was founded over the last 4 years, and I think Maybe not in every aspect, but in some aspects this really worked. So this is like one important part of the project. Then, of course, there is the touring part. So we have like the internal rule that every festival out of these 48 artists invites 9 people. So 9 people means not necessarily 9 different acts, but if there is a trio, for example, so then this is already like 3 people. So then this reduces the amount of the acts. And this can be at our main activity, which is like the festival, but a lot of SHAPE members, they also have like other events during the year, so it's not necessary to invite everybody to the festival. Whatever you do, include like artists from the SHAPE platform into your program. This, I think, is working for some artists really well. For some artists, it doesn't work. And this is like the difficult part. Maybe we can elaborate a bit more afterwards. So yeah, for some, I think it's working really well. It really helps. For some, it doesn't. And the third part, well, maybe there are like 2 more parts we should talk about. The third one is that we also have so-called educational activities. So first of all, or not first of all, but also for us internally. So like, because of course we need to meet to speak about the next couple of months. So we do that like twice a year usually. And then we also try to do some educational activity for us, because of course also we need to learn constantly about new things. But also this is, we try to program some interesting workshops or lectures or tours. It can be whatever format for the artists who are coming to our events and also for the audience. So that's like another important part. Just a few weeks ago, mid of September, for the first time, we tried out a new format. Like some of those, as we call it, educational activities, we tried to centralize them in Prague, because the Meat Factory, they are like the main organizer of the project. So they are like keeping us together, so to say. And there in the Meat Factory in Prague, they like, concentrated some of those workshops, and like all the 48 artists were invited to come. Not all could come, of course, because some are touring, some have other activities going on, so not everybody could come, but at least I'm not quite sure, about 20, I think, were coming. And this was also, we tried this out, and what I've heard, I haven't been there by myself, but from what I've heard, it worked really nicely, because of course it's nice if like the artists also meet each other. So it's not only about presenting to the public, but of course it's nice if artists from this roster like meet each other, and maybe projects are born out of that. So of course we also would like to do, or it would be nice to see some activity here, and there is. And maybe the last thing, which we already yesterday heard about a little bit, is our showcases. So this we did now the 3rd time at CYNETART Festival in Uganda, beginning of September. Last year, or actually 2 years ago, because it was in December, we were at Novas Frequencias Festival in Rio de Janeiro, and before that at Mutek Festival. So this is like also an important part of the project now. I can talk about it more if you want later, maybe. So we are trying to constantly work on the project, develop it further. The community aspect is important to us. So maybe that's like a brief sum up of our activities, and we can go into detail more. Thomas.
Okay. Thomas, so internally there's representation. Everyone has a share at table, so to speak, or in the discussion. But how would you describe the power dynamic between all stakeholders? Being so neoliberal between shareholders. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, maybe I can start a bit. Yeah. Okay, maybe I can just extend a bit the way how it was developed, because what we did not mention was as well this ICAS network in general, or this International Cities of Advanced Sound network, which exists already maybe since more than 10 years already. So it actually, it's an international network, and actually it was 3 years ago we have founded like an association around it. Or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, with the registration in Tromsø in Norway. So what I mean in that case, there's an international network, and for sure all are doing somehow quite same or similar activities in organizing festivals or events dedicated to electronic music or related arts in that way. And how shape, for sure, it's something like, for sure, it's always maybe the question how we can develop a sustainable network, and that's why we as well have a constantly exchange about project ideas, and we're looking for this reason as well founding possibilities, and in that case it was the option to prove what the Creative Europe program, which the Shape platform is founded, has an option to continue our work, which we have done already since years during the festivals. So even concerning Shape, is especially 16 European festivals, but for sure there as well a lot of, let's say, 20 more other international festivals. And even if other ICAS members have other projects which have a bilateral or trilateral constellation, this platform is as well at the moment with 16 members, which is hopefully running until 21. It could be a permanent thing to push the artists which we mentioned before.
Do you see all stakeholders as kind of where would you what would you push for more within the platform?
Personally, from my point of view, for sure, it's really about creating sustained structures. Even because for sure we have worked already maybe since more than 10 years all together, and for sure there are even different kind of generations already, even from the staff point of view, but even really to work on it, to establish something like a transnational or international association, about even to have possibilities to continue your work you are with your festivals and what you're doing, then it's really worth to push it more. Yeah.
Christian, how's your experience? Because you're in a position where you can compare two platforms. How does dynamic appeal to you?
I would say it's quite similar, because if you're already like an artist who has like some releases, kind of big releases behind you, or some bigger gigs, you would probably get a lot of these gigs anyway. So, but the situation is much more different or difficult for let's say a newcomer artist. He's not really that much known, and it's kind of the naive thing to expect when you become a part of some form of platform, or even make some releases, that suddenly a lot of doors will open for you. So especially if you come from a place maybe like Ljubljana or Slovenia in general, which is not Berlin or London, USA, and all of these bigger states or cities, you have to push much more, make much more references, make much more releases. So yeah, I think, as I said, for these artists who are already kind of getting there, it's much more easier, and they would probably get a lot of these gigs like anyway because of their references, you know. So yeah, that's kind of my point of thinking and viewing things.
How does the network, because of course the mission is cross-cultural, cross-border, you know, inclusion, plurality, you know, different ways of otherness, let's seek it out and then include it, be it East, be it gender, be it sexuality, be it genre, whatever, right? But I guess one thing that's kind of always on the table is popularity in a way, because some have a certain cultural, let's call it cultural capital already, right? As they enter, and how to counter the popularity, how to, you know, have everyone represented, but, you know, kind of keep everyone.
I mean, that's of course like always the question, because originally this platform was designed for so-called emerging artists. This is also out of a need, because like if you want to get European Union funding, you also have to fit into their scheme. So when we were like designing the Shape platform, of course we also had to design it a little bit in a way that it fits into their scheme, so they see a reason why they should support us. And they're like, especially this platform projects, they are established for helping so-called emerging artists. So that's something which I usually don't use I can use it here in a discussion about it, but not if I speak to the public at the radio, for example. So I wouldn't use the term emerging. For myself, I found the definition for new and interesting projects from the field of music and audiovisual arts. And actually, it doesn't have to be only artists who are not known yet or a bit known already. It can also be a already established artist who has a brand new project. So of course, like this definition, it's like expandable. You know, you can. It's quite flexible, so to say. But of course, it's always a question. Yeah, whom to suggest and when. My personal experience is that it's actually really hard to know if you suggest somebody, because of course I know that there are expectations, and actually what I'm trying to do straight away is to keep them low. What is really working is like the PR part of the project, I think, and this is for everybody equal. What is not necessarily working is the touring aspect. So I always try to focus on the PR part, because this we can guarantee. And of course, if you're suggesting like 3 artists, you with your heart are there and want them to get invited, and of course you want that the best things happen. But also like from the other side, like this roster of like 48 artists, it's of course a lot of interesting artists, and I only have the budget to invite a tiny group of those artists. So if I don't invite somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean I don't think that this artist is interesting. I maybe find it as interesting as the artist I invite, but if you make a program, it has like so many, there are so many different factors, you know. Who else is playing on that evening, or do you have a theme, or I mean there are so many, and then you choose like what fits the best. So I, for example, I don't look for the most established artists in the roster, not at all. I mean, for me, what counts is content, and if the artist is already known or not, I don't care, basically. Of course, like speaking about for the platform, of course, for the platform, it helps if there are artists who are a little bit known already and who are kind of also help us to carry to use like a bad word now, brand. Of course, this also helps us because the more people know about it, the more awareness is generated, the more possibilities are generated. So I think to have like somebody every year, or it's also not we are like looking like on purpose. We need somebody now who is already known. It's just happening, you know, that somebody suggests this person because he or she thinks they would fit perfectly. And usually there are some artists there from the Pan label, for example, who are then really already a bit known. And yes, it happens that they get booked, and yes, maybe they would have got booked anyways. I mean, that's definitely true. But I don't see that as a negative thing necessarily. I don't think that they necessarily take away the place for the others. I think it's a part of the project which has its function and which is also generating something good for the platform, I would say. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are like overruling everybody else. I wouldn't say that. I don't know how you see this, Thomas.
On one hand, if I even look to myself, what kind of artist I was proposing even to the platform, actually it was because even I'm not really deep into the festival scene anymore, but for the end, for sure, I'm looking into Dresden to some experts and even music interest, but even not even music oriented, but even fine art or from other art disciplines, even from digital culture or from digital arts in general. And that is even my experience if I'm proposing maybe a little far away from the typical DJ or even AV performance representative artist. The Shape platform is a bit, let's say, you know, the acceptation of maybe really, you know, what is sound related and abroad or beyond this is still even from Silent Art Festival point of view, which is really more focusing on media arts in different kind of fields, even from performative or even more clear online performance art and stuff like that. So even I have sometimes the feeling you're still. What is the chance to present even alternative art forms, or even what you say, it's maybe the newest trend, or even developments in your region, or even in your environments, even if you're looking at the Academy of Fine Arts and the youngsters or the students, what they are doing and what they are interested in. I would like to bring in, for instance. And even there was this year as well the case. I proposed one student, and actually during the Shape year, she told me, "Oh, sorry, Thomas, I would like to cut up my artistic career," and that happened as well, you know. And so I have to accept this, even because she was already announced at Shape platform, and even they had the chance to get more attention and stuff like that.
Maybe I could shortly add to this, because it's really like a challenging thing also as a festival organizer to participate to this platform, because as I said, I mean, I don't want to play with expectations, and I'm very much aware that that especially people who haven't heard about Shape before and who are then invited by me to participate, I mean, of course it sounds great in the first minute, like wow, 16 festivals, CTM, Unsound, and so on and so forth. So I'm aware that this is a big responsibility, and yes, there might be a trend towards like more club acts and DJs, but I also have to say that, for example, Andreas Tropolovic, who is like doing his very unique installations. He was one of the artists who got invited in the last year the most. So I couldn't actually say, in my experience, I was already proposing people who would, from that first first look at Shape, who would maybe fit better, because they are actually really fitting into this world of experimental club music, but they weren't invited. And an artist who is doing his very unique installations, and who is definitely not trendy in any way, I would say. He's very unique. He was suddenly invited by so many festival directors. So it's like really, you never know. It's like every year, and I'm sitting like the whole year, you know, like waiting. and hoping, of course, that the artists I suggested, I invited, that they are getting invited. So it's a quite an challenge. It's not that we are all like laid back and let's see, and if nothing is happening, well, nothing is happening. It's a quite of exciting ride also for us.
Okay, I'll rephrase it this way. I mean, perhaps you said brand is too dirty of a word, but branding itself, it's a, let's call it a regime, right? That kind of defines, in any case, I don't think there's a way to get out of it in a way. Each name, each activity is in a way a brand. But if we want to, let's substitute the word brand with a story or a narrative, I think, right? There's always going to have to be, say, 50 shades of differentiation. You know, outwardly, like how does shape position itself towards other networks or whatever, and inward as well, right? How does Christian position himself compared to other artists and so on? So there's 50 shades of, 48 shades or 16 shades, or of differentiation. So I think it's a two-way street. It's a process. It's a work in progress where the artist and curator, the platform and participants are kind of they need to kind of figure out this narrative. So how do you, Christian, approach? How do you position yourself when you present yourself amongst the Knights of the Round Table, amongst the 48, and how do you help position the artists among themselves? So it's not just left and to coincidence or chance. Christian.
I would say the first and the most important thing is basically your work, your music, or your DJ sets, or your audiovisual performances. So as long as you have this is your backbone. I think this should be the case why you should be like playing festivals, gigs, and everything. So I would say the music or the thing that you do has to be the most important part in this whole industry or entertainment.
Outside of expression, right? So the music is expressive in a way, but there are certain buzzwords, I think, because amongst here, there's, everyone's experimental, everyone's innovative. Of course, that's what the platform is about. Cross genre, or so what still how to create a certain difference compared to others, how to describe yourself, the platform, the artist, in relation to other artists, what how to approach that.
Oh, you mean like some uniqueness to it?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. still trying to figure that one out. But I would say it's like, I don't know. Some people will definitely get into this music that you do, but some people won't. So it's, I mean, there is no calculation about it. There is no right, there is no wrong. But just some people like it and some people don't like it. And for some people, there's some uniqueness at this stuff, or some people will say, oh, this is the stuff that was making 20 years ago as well. So I think it's just like this, the people like thinking, like their view on the things that you make. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure about this uniqueness anymore. There's not so many things you can accomplish now or make so innovation to music. More or less, a lot of this stuff, especially we were talking about, I don't know, club or electronic in general, a lot of this stuff has been happening like for ages now. I don't know. You see now some act and you think, yeah, it's something fresh, but then you go, I don't know, through history and you see that some guys already did it, like, I don't know, AFX Twin and everything like that. So I would say the most of the genres were actually like touched like years before. So I don't know, as I said, the uniqueness is only how some people see it, it's not.
Okay, maybe uniqueness is let's substitute it with niche. Let's substitute it, not niche in the sense, something small and but that's something very idiosyncratic, something very individual, like yours.
Yeah, I think the platform, I mean, it's the 48 artists who make the platform, you know. For example, I mean, of course, like everybody knows like the local scene very well. So, for example, I know the Austrian scene. Thomas knows what's going around Dresden, Berlin, Krakow. So we Riga. So we have like all these different cities. And yeah, what I'm looking for is like who are the artists who are doing like really unique, already quite defined projects in this particular year, and those are the artists I then would suggest. But I'm not like searching for a certain content, you know. I'm looking outwards and look what is there. And so it's the artists who make like who define the platform, I would say. Yeah.
Also maybe as well, but you as a festival organizer as well, because on the one hand, it's as well a thing of trust, as even if you're proposing some artists to the roster or even to the list, no? And even our other festival partners, then somehow, okay, I will check it, I will evaluate it, could it keen and say, yes, cool, it's shape related. No? What are your criteria, even if you vote, or even to say yes, it could be relevant for the shape platform, even if I look to your proposals or you look to mine and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I think that's one of the nice things about, in the end, also the ICAS network, which is behind the shape platform. That, or for me also as a radio journalist, I mean, I'm of course constantly looking for the new interesting projects, but I know that my horizon is limited, and but I also know that I have all my ICAS colleagues out there who know their scenes really well, and I learned a lot of new artists, also like lots of artists we invited in the last year to our festival. I haven't heard about them before, and I heard about them because of my colleagues. And as Thomas just said, I mean, of course, I trust my colleagues, and I know if they suggest somebody, then yes, this is an interesting project which I should check out. So it definitely enriches the festival program, and in my case, which is also important because our festival is connected to the radio, so actually my main task is to generate content for the radio. So yeah, it also like brought a lot of super interesting people, artists, talks, musics, projects to the radio, which I then can present to the public. So yeah, this is like how it's working. But I think, I mean, of course, our wish would be that shape, if we use the bad word brand again, I mean, like the good side maybe of this brand thing is, I mean, the ideal thing would be, and I think it's happening sometimes already, that other festival organizers or event organizers, concert organizers, whoever, who are not part of our group of 16, think, okay, this platform, there are always interesting artists. I'm looking for some interesting artists for my next year's festival, and they are checking out like our platform. And not only, I mean, you can find all the years there. I mean, of course, it's always the recent year is always very prominent in the front, but you can like also find who was like participating in the years before. And in the meantime, I don't know by heart now, but it's like almost 200 artists now who participated in the project. And at least I heard from artists I suggested that they told me, suddenly I got this invitation to a festival from France, and it must have been somehow overshaped, because how should they know about me? There is no connection. So if this is happening, I think then we succeeded not only for us to have like interesting festival programs by ourselves, but then this can also really be a platform which helps, which helps like the artists beyond our possibilities. let's call it like this, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in another buzzword. So apart from experimental and innovative and genre bending, so if we bend even more, we have, I guess, we have on the other spectrum, on the other side of a spectrum, we have gender bending, and then there's a lot of bending in terms of politics. Is how politicality itself, like how strong of a card is that? Of course, it's again inscribed into the mission statement. Politicality, yeah, the politics of, and then fill in whatever word. How strong of a cultural capital that is to position the platform, to position the artist, and so on.
We have this quota thing. Maybe we could.
Yeah, it just started last year, that this is 30% minimum of female artists
at the moment.
But actually, it's just pushed, popped up somehow last years, even on this culture policy level to set up these rates, what is percentage rate, and even about gender equality and stuff like that, even in music business. For me personally, it was not really, even for science art, not really an issue, but somehow we had to do it because it was somehow an, let's say order, but a guideline from the European Union. But what happened in the end, even from the last year Rooster, there were a lot of projects run by women. So I think it was, I don't know the percentage, but I really checked the list and oh my God, what happened? Yeah.
I mean, I personally think, at the moment we have like this internal rule. If like we nominate 3 artists per festival, like at least one of the acts should be female. I mean, sometimes it's more. I think this is good and necessary to do it. I think it should not stop at women. Of course, there are much more groups, and actually this discussion is like also going on in the background, also to have like really artists with like a different national background maybe, but I think it's happening anyways. I wouldn't say that Shape is that there is like a political mission or a political statement we want to present with this platform. I don't think so. It's like it's like really there for promoting the artists we nominated. But there are projects there are projects where this is important for the project, but we are not choosing projects who are politically active or something. But of course, I mean, some of the interesting projects, because it's, as Oliver always says, the Zeitgeist. So if we are looking for the most the most interesting, exciting projects, automatically this will flow into the platform, I would say. But
there is a certain awareness. I mean, political awareness.
I would definitely say it's a political awareness. But this should be there anyways. I mean, for me, this is like more a natural thing that we should be aware about those things, and I think we are, and we work on that. But yeah, it's nothing that we are carrying like outwards in a way. I think it should be just normal. So that's.
So the funding got extended, right? So the part 2 or phase 2, I like the James Bond discourse. Phase 2. So the 16 cities are going to invite. Again, partner cities, right? So the network, the platform is going to grow. in the future? Is that the plan?
No. Well, I mean, we are like the 16, and this will stay like this. The ICAS network is slowly growing. For example, Nyege in Uganda, it's like our newest member. So this platform is like slowly growing because there are festivals who would like to become members, and we have like an internal procedure where we decide if we want to welcome a new festival or not. And of course, like for example, when Nyege, it's like always like, for example, the Nyege festival, our colleagues from Unsound, like they were already in touch with them, so they told us about the festival, and of course we are like very Europe and America centered. Like most of the festivals are in Europe, in North America, some in South America, some in Central America, and of course it's great to have a partner in Africa now. So this is growing, but like the Shape project, I mean, to be honest, the funding isn't that big, so we couldn't really expand that. So it will be like a 16, but we developed over the years, and this has also a bit of a history, but like now with the showcases, we developed tools where we like try to integrate also the bigger ICAS family, so to say, in the project, or to like redirect some of our European Union funding. For example, if we do a showcase in Uganda, like if we come with some money, so we are trying to redirect some of our resources to our partners within the ICAS network. Also, we now have the rule that that every festival, so this is like new for the phase 2, that every festival is like sending one artist of the nominated artists to, it doesn't have to be an ICAS festival, but it would be great if it's an ICAS festival, so to another ICAS festival which is not part of the Shape project. Yeah, so we have our tools, but of course also our possibilities are limited. I mean, yeah.
So this is what I'm actually doing as well with CYNETART. So I'm not showing or I'm not presenting all Shape artists during the CYNETART festival. But for instance, I'm cooperating with the Balance Club Festival in Leipzig at the Institut für Zukunft, or even I'm going with one of the Shape artists to Dnipro, to the construction festival in Ukraine. So this is quite, even for me, from a festival point of view, a nice tool even to present the artist, the Shape artist, as well on other public presentations.
So how do you see so challenges ahead, so to speak, not necessarily internally, but like externally, compared to the general technological or digital landscape or even political landscape? It is in a way kind of creating a parallel community in a way, right? Because so much of digital landscape is being enclosed, it's being dictated by tastes or what sells and so on. And here it's really more about community and work and exchange and crossing and transgressing and so on. So how do you see the platform in opposition to traditional media, in opposition to the political landscapes? Because it is in a way a movement as well. You see yourself as a part of a movement?
I don't know, but I always enjoyed making music because I'm coming from a middle-class family, that my music or my DJ gigs are going to be consumed by the people who are coming from the higher class. So it was always kind of a rebellion thing to do music, like coming from this lower middle class, like, and playing stuff to the people from the higher society. And yeah, it's kind of battle for me, like.
Because we're seeing borders put up, walls put up, wires put up, again entrenching entrenching divisions between genders, between
No,
different social.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, I mean, that was one of the most beautiful experiences now at the CYNETART festival. I mean, this music, this art, this platform, and as I said, the platform can only exist because there are artists, is of course a great way to try to overcome this border, and it was like really super great to meet like artists from East Africa, to be able to exchange. I think also hopefully for all the artists we invited to come to Uganda with us. So in that way, I mean, I always have to think about CH𝐂𝐓𝐑𝐓𝐄𝐊 in that sense, who like said that the future developments in society are first showing up in the music, and I want to believe that this is true. And if it's true, in this particular subject, then yeah, I mean, it was a great mixing in Jinja of like all different cultures, countries. I mean, of course, I'm not naive. I know that there are borders, there are visa issues, and all that, which makes it difficult for us. But I think, yeah, it's a in a way a counter movement, and I guess that the music as a language, and especially the electronic music. I mean, this is what I've heard also in so many interviews. Also, I don't know, there are the stories after the fall of the Berlin Wall, where were the people meeting first in the techno clubs, dancing together, and so on and so forth. So I think that especially electronic music, or this kind of music, has a strong force, which can show that if people are building up the borders, we can show how great it is to be together and overcome these borders. So, but of course, we are like, it's a little bit preaching to the converted, because we are like our community, and how much can this change anything if you look like to the new nationalistic movements. I mean, of course, these are two totally separate worlds. I mean, they most probably don't even know that we exist. So if we want to change something, then we have to go into politics, or I don't know, like go on the streets and demonstrate. And so it's not like, it cannot be a tool for everything. But I think it's nevertheless, it's a great place to also get to know each other, to exchange information. I mean, what we all experienced in Jinja, of course, we are telling to our friends, we are telling to our families. So hopefully, this is inspiring somebody. And why did it happen? Because of the music and of the art. I mean, first of all, without artists, without music, that would have never happened.
I mean, left to corporations or left to traditional media and so on, right? There's little reflection, or there's, you need to sort of produce your own media. You need to produce your own machinery. You are producing your own community, right? But here's my question. It is kind of creating, it is making a difference, but it's also creating a certain parallel society, so to speak. And is this ever going to, push against the general public? How to raise awareness even more, educate people even more? Because I mean, education is one of the future, to one of the things that the Shape platform wants to work even more on, right? Educate amongst the platform, but also on the outside.
I think you cannot force, lots of people are just not interested in that kind of music and culture, you cannot force them. I can bring it to them, but they will never understand it. So, I mean, I'm doing my best, wherever I can. And this is like the cultural radio at the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation. So, of course, this is a certain, like the intellectuals are listening to this program, and it's not a commercial station, so that's totally different. But I think, I don't think that that I can, maybe once in a while you can inspire one person who was not in touch, or that's what I hope, maybe somebody turns on the radio and stumbles across music, and he gets curious and suddenly starts to get interested in this kind of arts. But I mean, this is happening, maybe a few people, but you cannot start a mass movement here. So when it comes like, for example, that people are now even more focusing on their nationality, and like it's the trend goes more to the self than to the world, instead of opening up to the world. I don't think that. I mean, as I just said, we can do maybe something within our limits, but that's not. At some point, you just have to go to the street, maybe, or like I don't know, become part of a party, or there are other ways. I mean, it's not hard politics what we can do with this kind of cultural activity.
Right. But personally, I was relieved when I saw, in Tbilisi when the government tried to close the 2 clubs. And it's very simple. You just put the speakers onto the main square, and you just start dancing. And what an impact dancing itself had. Just move it from a club or like a festival situation. Kind of. I'm again, this is an industry, but I'm going to call it a bubble for argument's sake. And you move it to on a Parliament Square or something, the square of whatever. And people start dancing, and the police doesn't know what to do with the bloody dancing bodies. They're just paralyzed because they know how to fight, people who fight or protest and blah blah. But here, there's a completely different mode of protesting, for example.
I mean, if we talk about ginger again, I mean, that's definitely not the only thing which we should talk about if we talk about this festival. But I mean, there was like this big scandal, so to say, shortly before the festival, when the Minister for Ethics and Integrity wanted to like ask the government to please stop the Njege festival because it's like open sex orgy. How do you say orgie? and like music is just like covering what is really going on there. And I mean, there you could see how big actually, also the fear is. Towards like this kind of culture, and also the power, because in the end, of course, they better didn't stop it, I would say, because they knew that people would be very upset, and we don't know exactly why they decided not to stop it, but I think it does have a power in some moments, or as you said in Tbilisi. So I think it can have a power, but also it has its limitations, I guess. Yeah.
Shall we quote the Black Madonna? We still believe.
For sure, we just talk about this parallel societies, or even where we are, maybe. We as persons, or even in our crowds or in our collectives, having our own environment, and could it be still safe, and even this liberty we live somehow, even nowadays, still there's a need that we just meet each other and experience each other and create common projects. But in that case, for sure, it's getting more and more dynamic, because maybe even this general public maybe is would not say in fear or in danger or whatever. But yeah, maybe it's really the aspect of the general crisis which rises up at the moment, and even I can feel it personally in Saxony, in Germany, and even in Europe in general. But even then, you get political as well if you are doing cross-border projects founded by the European Union still. But even you have to fight for that it's really still available to do that, even because even just the case that in your local authority the political majorities are changing, more right-wing or more local or nationalist parties get on the power, then for sure you have to ask yourself, is your cultural activity you're supporting and you're acting for since years, for sure it's valid to do it again, but even because you get more and more under attack and you have to prove your own, what you're doing in differentiation, what they are fighting against, you know, because they, with all this, maybe more and more feel this, that each single public opinion, or each opinion gets to public via social media and all these channels, you get more and more under attack. And this way, for sure, if you have dancing in public, it's as well a nice thing. Even maybe but Love Parade started just as a birthday party and faked with a demonstration. But at the other end, so you cannot be always still in this dark night environment and safe places, and for sure you have to go out if you would like to change something.
I mean, keep rebelling. I mean, I don't see it as utopian. I mean, just to add, right, this. I mean, I think that the being part of a festival circuit, or being, even if it's an industry, or being part of an artistic platform or something like that, especially nowadays when, you know, we're all connected, but we're still kind of alone, and everyone's just, you know, spewing different points of view, you know, often zigzagging across digital or whatever space without really connecting in the sense of, let's talk, let's have a dialogue, let's, you know, I think bringing people together physically also as a platform, be it artists or the audiences, it's kind of social work in itself.
I mean, I'm gonna go back to the point when you asked me if I'm a part of the movement. I think the movement, I mean, a lot of DJs and artists are a part of the movement, or even are leading this movement, but it's mostly because they have like this power, you know, they're this big following on maybe on social networking, and they can basically do something and change it. And I'm not still in this position. I can embrace like a group of people to start fighting for something better. And even the case that you mentioned, the BDC, the Bassiani Club, which happened, it basically got worldwide, you know, all of these big star DJs or even the middle DJs start posting about it, so it became just like a worldwide kind of thing. They started thinking about it and acting about it. So I think, if the right people have the power to do something, it can definitely happen. But yeah, I'm not in that. I don't have that power yet, or I won't to like build a movement or to share something through Facebook and accept, I don't know, something's gonna happen, you know. So, but yeah, a lot of guys do have in electronic music.
Well, I'm going to say this: history is on our side because God is a DJ, as we all know. So it's very simple. It's very simple. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the audience. I think the concert is starting at 8 already, or has started already. So any questions or comments? Any guidelines? You know, how to fix the world, start a revolution? Where's the spark? You know, let's. Yeah, where's the spark?
What's the outcome of the workshops or the workshop at the meat factory? What's the result? Apart from the possible collaborations amongst the artists there.
I think those workshops are not about producing results. It's more about inspiration, like and giving inspirations.
With each other.
Yeah. So we don't care about if anything is produced afterwards or not. I mean, hopefully that's why we are doing it, and also that's why we are doing workshops for ourselves, to get inspired, to get new ideas, but without the pressure of having to produce something right after, which can be exhibited or something. So yeah, I haven't been there, but I heard that there was a nice atmosphere, and I'm not sure about the program, but yeah, we are also not always, but also trying to think about what could be useful, for is it like PR strategies or like like in producing, but these our colleagues did actually. I was not directly involved.
Yes, please.
I mean, as I'm also part of my festival, part of the Shape platform, I would say we are somewhat critical in our own way, because I mean, what we are doing also now with these workshops and stuff. I mean, RBMA, Red Bull Music Academy, is trying to do the same, and that you have a product at the end that they sell their little drink. And we all know at the moment that we have this big problem that one of the owners is quite active in supporting, let's say, more right-wing platforms, as a wonderful TV in Austria, Servus TV, for example, and the online platform Addendum. I don't know if they also do it in English or only in German.
I don't follow everything what Red Bull is doing.
For the music scene, and I think like what Shape is doing with the little means we have is actually a similar thing. But we don't push anybody to get out a record or something, but we encourage artists to develop their skills, to exchange, and to learn more on for their professional for their professional growth. And I think this is quite important, and it's even more and more important as, I mean, I don't know, I feel it in Berlin, definitely. I mean, there you have like, of course, like they have these music tech companies, Ableton Native Instruments, that's fine, they're somehow linked to the community, but now there's also the biggest online clothing store in Germany, Zalando, that is now doing their own festival. There are also all these fashion weeks that are owned also by bigger brands that are then doing their exceptional music program. And of course, they promote then diversity, and they have all the LGBTIQ artists, and they have all, I mean, they share all the artists that we have on our nice platform. And but at the end, they do it to sell their products and to some want to do good, some are doing quite a sort of, let's say, pink washing, whitewashing, whatever washing. And I think this will, and also the Red Bull, I mean, they're doing the same, so they're getting rid of their brown color that is somehow in the core. And I think this will be getting more and more extreme. So maybe we don't feel it yet, as we're in Austria and Germany, like the frog in the boiling, slowly getting warmer water. But like in Georgia, where everything is probably still somehow really unstable. So there is then this need, and maybe we only feel it soon that there will be this need, because I think like these companies with money and with like this kind of zeitgeist, in the sense of, yeah, we have to promote this and that, are on the first view helpful, but on the other end they are not. I mean, because probably we all have to question each other, aren't we helping bad ideas to be promoted via a little nice how to call it, cover of doing good? And I think this is like also the big problem. And the nice European Union money we acquired with this nice application we did, this is then a way like to also counter these developments.
And also, we of course love the European Union. No, I mean, like this special idea of like Europe, which is behind also these cultural programs, and this, in the last years also became a statement actually, to like, that's actually pretty political.
Yeah, there will come. I think I'm sorry to say, but I think the time to defend the idea of Europe is near. It's becoming more and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as opposed to, colonialism, of course. I mean, with all that taken into account.
Yeah, it was just a tool a few years ago when we maybe started the Shape platform, or also like our other European Union-funded projects. But nowadays, to bring the spirit of to work in the spirit of Europe, it's already something. Yeah, it's political. Yeah.
Yeah, there's several fronts. I mean, for me, it's very easy to rebel against authoritarians because it's very clear. You know where to push their buttons. I mean, they're pushing yours, and it's very, very clear. What you pointed out, Oliver, now is it's the advanced strategy of kind of being inclusive, being diverse, but being corporate at the same time, right? You can be green, you can be diverse, you can be inclusive, all of that, but still, it's all about business towards the end. I mean, as opposed to surviving, of course. I mean, we need to survive somehow, well, but it's complicated. Okay, so I guess we're not saving the world today. Okay, well, Susanna Niedermeyer, Thomas Dumke, and Christian Kroupa, thank you for attending, and thanks everyone here. See you at the concert later at Kino Šiška. Thank you.